Hello, my dear people. Today I would like to talk about something that many of you have asked about, which is what should be going on in your head when you're doing telekinesis, what you should be thinking about. Before we start, though, it is important to address that telekinesis is way more of a bigger process than just what's going on in your head. A big misconception that is spreaded around about it is that it is an ability to move objects with the power of your mind. And I feel like it might be a very misdirection for many people out there, especially beginners, because it is basically leading you on to believe that all the process about it is just you focusing on your head, on your brain. So first of all, we have to address the fact that all reality is more than just physical stuff. We, as a human being, for example, are made out of our physical body, we are made out of emotion, mental, and as well as spiritual, which is energetical. And I feel like a lot of people miss out on this fact in telekinesis. So just to make sure that you do not focus only on what is going on here, but you also realize that there are other aspects to telekinesis that are reaching beyond the physical theme. Second of all, I feel like many people might see telekinesis as something meditative. And as much as telekinesis is a meditative type of state, it is not an internal practice. So it is not just about you focusing on your inside. In contrary, you should be focusing on the outside of yourself. So it is not the same as meditation where you sit down and you just focus on your own self, right? Of course, there are aspects in telekinesis which require that, but ultimately it is about going beyond yourself and also focusing on your surroundings. Okay, so there's many areas of telekinesis and many levels to that, so just make sure that you are aware that there's more to that than just visuals or meditation or whatever is going on internally, because it's just gonna block you from moving forward in your practice. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I feel like we have to start with meditation, all right? Because many people see meditation as one of the tips to doing telekinesis. And I believe it is extremely important for beginners to start off with meditation before approaching telekinesis, because meditation is what grants you this focus and clarity of mind while you're doing telekinesis. The worst thing you can do to yourself is be distracted while doing your practice. Telekinesis is the type of practice that you really need to get engaged into. You cannot be just in and out of it or get distracted or have doubts or hesitation in your mind, because this is just not doing telekinesis. This is just gonna be you having an inner conflict for the whole practice. So if you find yourself doing telekinesis and always being distracted by thoughts like, is this real? Am I stupid for doing this? This is not doing telekinesis. This is not even practicing. So an important thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to telekinesis is that there's no brain element in telekinesis. You do not need your brain in that sense. The only part with brain that people are talking about that is so crucial for telekinesis is literally just only breaking from your beliefs and blockages you have. That's all the work the brain is doing. And that's why there is such a big push on focusing on the power of will and the power of your mind, because that whole power comes really just to the fact that you're being able to break through your beliefs. So once again, meditation is really important, but telekinesis is a meditation state itself. It is being in the trance, being very engaged. If you look at some of my videos, you can see me being super focused. Like sometimes I even look angry, but I'm not actually. I'm just super focused, super engaged. I have a very big control over what's going on in my head at the moment and what am I doing. Another thing about meditation is that telekinesis is a very time consuming thing. So it requires you to really get into it and do it. And honestly, when I was practicing telekinesis, I was usually doing sessions for 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes, because it requires you to get into the flow of doing it so you can actually understand it, so you can actually see what it's about, so you can actually connect to how to do it. And naturally, it's going to be really hard for you to put yourself into that mode without actually engaging into a very long time frame of practice. If you're set for practicing for only 10, 20, 50 minutes, your brain will not really be inclined to engage in that amount. While as when you set yourself for practicing, this is what I'm gonna be doing for some longer amount of time right now, your brain will be kind of like more inclined to actually focus and engage into it. And that's why meditation is important, because it gets rid you of impatience, desperation, or even focusing on the goal, which is moving something. Because when you set yourself for, oh, I'm gonna be trying to move this object and I'm not gonna be focusing on, oh, I will do it in 10 minutes, okay, I'm gonna move this now, because this is what causes impatience. If you're not able to focus on the process itself, you're gonna get desperate, you're gonna get impatient, and it is a distraction on its own. So that's what the meditation is important for. It is important that you get yourself rid of all distractions, all the thoughts. That B, you're gonna be aware of your mind and your thoughts. You're gonna be aware of what is going on with you, and you can control the process. And C is that you're getting into a trance, an engaged state of focus, where you are fully able to focus on the process itself. Okay, now, second thing that should or can be going through your mind, and that was definitely going on a lot in mine, was affirmations. And as simple as it might be, it is really helpful to affirm. So, whenever I do telekinesis, I always affirm to myself. Because, first of all, it's helping you get hyped up and confident. So, exchanging all those doubts in your mind and hesitations with affirmations like, I can do it, I'm moving this object is moving. This is hyping you up, this is putting you into a state where you actually believe you can do it. And I'm gonna list a couple of affirmations that I think might be helpful for some of you and that I used myself. So you can use those affirmations yourself, but as always, it is important that you approach it individually, and it would even be more ideal if you would come up with your own affirmations depending on how you're feeling at the moment and what you need to hear. So just really say anything that you need to hear at this moment. They really help your mind be set into what you're doing right now, and also it helps you from those distractions like hesitation and doubts and so on. So exchanging all those hesitant thoughts with like the positive ones, it just really makes a difference. And I found affirmations especially helpful when I was a beginner. They were like a big part of my practice and a big part of really breaking through those mind beliefs and stereotypes that no, it's not possible, or this or that. Now, the next thing that you can preoccupy your mind with, and the things that you should have in your focus, is something to motivate you. It can be, for example, a motivating music, subliminals, or, for example, watching someone do it at the same time, or watching movie clips with telekinesis, because it, first of all, motivates you, especially with music and so on, something that puts you in a confident mood. It just energizes you and gives you more to work with. And second of all, if you see someone else be doing that, and I saw some of you people writing comments that you've been watching my videos while practicing for a long time, and I really do appreciate it, and I think it's super sweet that some of you are putting those long ass videos I made up to the use. So I really, really am happy about that. But for example, as I'm saying, watching someone do it or the movie clips or whatever, it really just shows your mind that it's possible. So while you're practicing and you're also seeing someone else do it, it just really helps your mind break through those barriers and blockages and get motivated, and at the same time get a feeling and this sense of doing it. And I talked about this specific feeling that can help you in one of my videos, and I'm gonna link it here. But basically in that video I'll talk about this specific thing that all of us experiences, and that catching onto it can really help you. Okay, and the next thing, most importantly, it's visualization. I mean, there cannot be a telekinesis tutorial video without visualization. Visualization will always be a huge part of telekinesis, because it's about working with your imagination, it's about working with yourself and working with your mind and those beliefs you have. Putting yourself in that sense that it's possible, and second of all, I mean, The brain doesn't see the difference between imagination and between the reality. If you can see it in your mind, you can also feel it in your body. You can sense it. You can feel as though you're actually doing it, and that can give you a better sense of how to actually approach it. So when it comes to visualization, there is really many ways and many techniques, but you just imagine first of all how it would feel like to move the object. Okay, so whatever you're working with, just imagine it moving. And by imagine it moving, I mean like literally visualize how it would feel, how it would look, and how it would even sound. For example, when you're using a tinfoil on a table, there would be like this characteristic sound that the tinfoil would make while it's moving on the table. So try to even visualize things like sounds. But most importantly, once you tap into it, you kind of get a sense as though you're actually doing it. It will really help you bring out this part of yourself. Most importantly, telekinesis is work with energy. So imagine energy, whatever it might mean to you. You can imagine a wind, you can imagine like something from around you coming together and like really hitting at the object. You can imagine lasers, you can imagine anything that really works with you and that you can visualize well. What I used to visualize while I was beginning, and actually the type of visualization that really helped me unblock kind of my skills with telekinesis, was just imagining my own energy, the environment energy, and the object energy. And I would imagine myself how my own energy is bringing kind of to the pile this energy from around me. And let's call it universal energy, the energy that, comes from the source. And then I would bring it and try to push it at the object. I would kind of like control the energy around me in order to move the object, because when you're doing telekinesis you don't really want to visualize using your own energy, like using it up in quotes. Like this is like a unhealthy way to drain yourself. So never imagine or visualize that you're kind of like putting your energy into the object, because that's just kind of draining yourself. So the one of the visualization techniques that can help you not get as drained is to visualize that you're working from energy around you, because there's always infinite energy around us. We can just use it up to our liking. So you just push it kind of at object. You're kind of imagining that you're working in tune with what's going on around you, the energy around you, and your environment. That's why it's so important in telekinesis to focus on environment and not on the object itself only. And that's something I also talked to one of my videos. Actually, I made a bunch of videos about telekinesis explaining certain aspects of it, so make sure to watch them so you get really a good idea, because there's so much aspects to telekinesis, it's impossible to just talk about it in one video. So that's one of the visualizations techniques, but there's of course way more. You can imagine a orb of light and like pushing it at it, or you can imagine lasers, as some people do. Anything that really works. It's not supposed to be supernatural, it's just like a metaphor for energy and working with it. So one of the important things that I also focus while doing telekinesis is environment and actually sensing it energetically. It's about focusing on your sensations, focusing on how it feels to be in this environment, how it feels to be, let's say, in your room, how it feels to feel the objects in your room being literally present, existing. It's about focusing with that existence that is outside of yourself. Important thing about telekinesis is not focusing on yourself. The more you focus only on yourself, the more hard it gets to really get outside of yourself. And working with objects in telekinesis is really just about getting outside of yourself and connecting to something different than yourself. So the more you focus on your inside, and yada yada, and only you and you, and controlling things outside of yourself, the more you're kind of putting this separation wall between yourself and telekinesis and whatever object you're working with. So it is important to be in this trance state in telekinesis in order to disconnect yourself from being so attached to your physical body and ego and identity, and actually connecting to something over than that. I believe that's the whole beauty in telekinesis, is this ability to really connect to something over than yourself. So I don't really like when people are seeing telekinesis as a means of control or power over something, because that's just not really the way to connect to something, and that's not really the best approach to progress of telekinesis. Okay, so that's all I have for you today, guys. That's all the things that you should be focusing on and having in your mind while doing telekinesis. That's the thing that I always had in my mind and that always have helped me a lot. So I hope this have brought you some clarity. I hope it brought you some knowledge, and I hope it will help you in your practice.